A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, those that are watching NBS. We are bringing you up to speed with what the latest look like in the country, and we are discussing what the topical discussion in the country looks like. Why is the country in the state that it is in? Strike after strike. Is the country on the edge? That's a question, or a bigger question, that we are asking this morning. And joining me on the show this morning is Honorable Tebandeke Charles, the Member of Parliament for Bale County. Honorable, a very good morning to you. Also joining me on the show is Dr. Tanga Odoi, who is the Electoral Commission Chairman for the National Resistance Movement. Good morning, Doctor.
Morning, and thanks for having me here.
Other panelists on the show who will be joining us shortly is Andrew Mwenda, a senior journalist and also a political commentator there, including Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma, who are key to the topical discussion this morning. I'll begin with Dr. Tanga Odoi. In government is the ruling party, the National Resistance Movement. And I want to ask whether he is aware of the different events happening, especially those that are leading the youth, leading the traders, and leading medical interns and other individuals to express dissent to the country.
First of all, thank you, Shamim, for hosting me. And thank you, my colleague, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Bale County. Yeah, the happenings in Uganda, to me, is a positive in the direction of democratic dispensation. The youth, the nurses, the medics are all expressing their grievances, albeit maybe in the wrong forum. The Constitution guarantees that one can actually lead a protest, but that protest should be formatted. There should be how the protest should be. If you want to lead a protest, you must notify the relevant authorities about what the protest should be, when it should be, where it should be held, and how you would actually protect the interest of others as you vie for your interest. I think the Constitution is very clear. There are other legal requirements that, yes, it is your right to demonstrate when you have a grievance, but it's also your right to think of other people's right in that process of demonstration. So yes, it is a democracy. It shows Uganda has actually outlived the past, where voices were not as hard as now. The youth protested. The protest of the youth was, to me, with a genuine reason but wrong method. Because if the youth wanted to protest about corruption, the protest should not be about Anita Among must resign. Because you are then assuming the role of the accuser, the prosecutor, the prison officer. You are taking on what cannot be easily.
Doctor, do you want to define their cause, or you think their cause was not properly formulated?
Shamima said they had a good cause. I think the methodology was wrong. Anyone shouting about corruption is right. And anyone shouting about corruption should know corruption is not in parliament only. Corruption is in the districts, corruption is in the villages, corruption is at home. Me, I have always said that if I have to join a demonstration, I'll join a demonstration against parents, against fathers who have left their homes to the mothers. That demonstration I'll join. And the only thing is that we should actually, if I'm to join, we shall also say, where are we demonstrating? How are we moving? If the police says we demonstrate and gives us a route to Kololo, or gives us a route to Makerere University Business School field, I'll join that demonstration. I'll not join demonstrations where there's no leader. Like the youth had a leaderless demonstration, partyless demonstration. Yes, it could be partyless, but you must have a leader. Otherwise, all vanguards will come and claim they are part of that demonstration.
Doctor,
so the methodology was wrong. The point of attack was wrong.
The youth say you, the politicians, have not given them leadership, and that's why they are not presenting anybody.
Leadership starts with you. Leadership starts with you. You know, people have condemned Parliament, People condemned President Museveni. President Museveni and his government has given the space. What we didn't have. We didn't have the space to even sneeze in Uganda for a long time, Shamim. And I'm not actually surprised that you don't know, because you are not there.
Doctor,
and you don't want to benefit from it.
It's a right that many are benefiting from, and indeed, it's
that benefit does not mean you can do it as carelessly as you can.
Those determinants can be made by the courts of law. Honorable Tebandeke.
Yes. First of all, let me wind up to give some honorable a footing. My position is demonstration or expression of grievance is a democratic right. The only method, the only thing I actually anchor on, how do we do it? Where do we do it? At whose expense do we do it? Who directs us to do it? There are those questions, www and others, which we shall answer here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Honorable Tebandeke. I want to understand from you where you sit, a member of parliament, and see the youth come to the house where you sit to serve them. You see the traders move to the streets. You see the medical interns move to the ministry. Questions differently cited, but you're aware of them. I want to understand from you what you make of the current state of the nation, one described by a protest after another.
Thank you, Shamim. First of all, I needed to appreciate the debate, the motion for debate today. And I'm wondering whether Dr. Tango Doi has just come to defend the state or to debate a motion. I would like to tickle him, to get interested into the debate. Because the question is very simple and clear. Strike after strike. Is the country in its age? Actually, I would like to believe that the country, and not any other country but Uganda. Actually, Uganda is at its last smallest corner, at its last smallest age, and it is being squeezed. And after getting squeezed, it lacks space as a turning point to recover. Wherever a substance is squeezed in a corner, it implies there are a lot of push factors that are squeezing Uganda at a certain corner. And now Uganda must come up with the pull factors to pull itself from such a squeezed corner in the form of solutions towards the grievances which Ugandans are fronting. First of all, in an economic perspective, our country has registered a number of push factors. And what are these push factors which are squeezing Uganda at a corner that is culminating, accounting for these strikes after strikes? There are a number of them, but first of all is unemployment issue. Now, Dr. Tango Doi is going to tell me unemployment is everywhere. You look at Kenya. It's true, it's everywhere. But what are the solutions which are we as stakeholders in leadership have put forward to create as a solution to enable these youth that are unemployed to forge alternative? Because as leaders, we are stewards. We are in the steering. We are piloting Ugandans. So which direction are we leading the country? And that's what the youth are trying to come over at Parliament as a solution, to ask Parliament, as the leaders we elected, we voted for you, you hold the mandate, you should as well hold the solution for us. What have you done to see that the country moves on well? You look at the cost of living. It's per index that as of now, in the town, in the city suburbs, the first lower Ugandan must bear $1,080 as per capita income, or income per capita, for one to survive. And that money, if converted into Ugandan currency, it is mounting about between 6 to 7 millions per year. How many of Ugandans, how many of those protesters that can earn worth that sum of money in a year? That sum of money being computed on average of monthly basis, it implies a Ugandan to survive in the city suburbs must at least be earning worth between 250 to 300 shillings And actually, it is computing to 600,000 shillings, give if you are considering the genuine cost of living. And how many Ugandans are worth earning 600 shillings per month? You look at the standard of living, what Ugandans need to survive is very high and costly. You look at the rent. Right now, traders have closed their shops, but they are going to meet the rent costs. And the rent is worth accumulating to between 1.5 to 2 million plus. How many Ugandans are operating a business within a town in addition to the heavy taxation policies which have been put forward that can meet up such standard of living to survive? You look at the high taxes which the traders are fronting as of now. Taxes everywhere, not only in the city suburbs, but even other traders within the villages. Personally, I'm a fisherman. The 80% tax levels boosted very many of Ugandans from business.
Honorable, you're a key stakeholder in government.
Yes.
And you passed a budget.
Yes.
You had tax bills passed.
Yes.
You debated them. Traders are crying about taxes. Taxes that are okayed by members of parliament.
Yeah, the influence tax policy, actually the influence is not a tax.
Away from the system.
Yes, but it is...
the issues of the traders are taxes. The questions are over taxation.
The question is over taxation, but the policy. I cannot fail to admit that it is the parliament that passes these taxes. But again, I'm not an account to blame. The influence scenario was passed in the 10th parliament of Mr. Dr. Otango Doi's regime, which he fronted, and very many NRM members were in the support of the influence. Actually, the influence taxation system wouldn't be bad, but the nature of business being operated in Uganda cannot accommodate such a system. Such a system, I think, was wholesomely copied from the developed countries. This is my dear. You cannot go to UK because a house to house holds a plane, Honorable. And now you bring it a policy in Uganda that everybody must have a plane.
Honorable,
I want you to wholesome coping, which is affecting our country. Yes,
I want
please.
you to paint for me a picture of how you want a trader to behave when he is undergoing overtaxation, he's subjected to corruption with poor infrastructure. Amidst an economy
yes.
that is that way. How do you want them to behave?
Actually, first of all, the traders, from the few we hear from direct contact, they say our issue is not even over taxation, but the quid pro quo aspect of the taxes we pay. What do we benefit from the taxes levied? When I was coming, I was caught up by jam and jumped on a boda. But a boda guy was bringing me here was over questioning me. What is the stake of the country? Before NAM, you members of parliament told us you appropriated 600 billions to work on Kampala roads. And then after there we had, during NAM, you passed a supplementary budget to still work on the Kampala roads. What is not going on well? When will these roads be completed? So you see that the issue of service delivery is affecting very many Ugandans to bear a negative attitudes, to lose hope from service delivery from government. However, on the issue of the strike, which you're asking me vis-a-vis the traders and the youth, I'm a kind of a person who may not discourage traders to run to parliament for demonstration. Why haven't they gone to court? Why haven't they run to State House? Why haven't they run to CPS? They are holding a solution from parliament. And for me, I would do credit at the youth who are fronting parliament. They have hopes in parliament. If not, there is what has not gone on well from parliament, and it's where their hopes are. Because as members of parliament, we are supposed to represent Ugandans entirely, and we are a sample representation of all Ugandans who are outside in there. I think by the youth, the traders, the intern doctors, and so on, to run towards parliament, there are two aspects. One, they should be having hopes in parliament that you rescue us. Such a situation, and the situation is moving on badly. It's overtaking the country. What are you doing? Then if not, they might be pointing at Parliament as a nodal causal factor, a mother, a cooking stone for corruption. And that's why they are running towards sin there. What matters, what would create relevance is for them to come with clear evidence. Because I don't support the slogan that Anita should go, Anita should resign. Wherever you are executing and accusing someone over a certain offense, give him or her room to explain. That is, there must be fair hearing. They shouldn't just come from nowhere, from what they have concocted or compiled, then they say Anita should resign. Then for me, my another rational issue is in there, that much as I support them to come to Parliament, but they would come in a literal manner, in a respectful manner, in a professional way. Where are those reports that they are complaining against Parliament? If Anita Amongo is corrupt, have they satisfied those reports and compiled them? Have they ever interacted with her? Have they ever questioned her about the corruption? Or it is just a mere show on the social media for some other people to turn out as celebrities? You see, the fight against corruption is being fought politically and in a cerebral manner. Someone who comes with a front face, Anita must resign. But the behind face is communicating something else. I wish Anita can call me on a table talk and we discuss. Then I'm interpreting what I'm observing on the ground and from media. You see, the fight against corruption, protect me, you will respond, you not down. The fight against corruption is being politicized. You look at how President Museveni initiated the fight. First of all,
and that's why I want to ask you.
Yes.
You as members of Parliament have accused yourselves, amongst yourselves, of sharing money from within the corridors of Parliament on different things.
No, which money and who was accused?
Do you want the public to say?
No, which money and who was accused?
Whatever even the Speaker has accused you members of Parliament on the floor of Parliament, asking you to stop seeking for money or soliciting for money from committees. Was she aloof of what happens in the House?
What I want
the Speaker was not aware that actually the Parliament she presides over has a test of a kind.
What I wanted to bring out is the cerebral manner and the political manner of fighting against corruption. And it's what I condemn. First of all, you saw President Museveni initiated the fight. In 2019, initiated the walk towards Nakaseke to look at the heroes and maybe to pray from the ghosts, the skulls, to help him with divine powers to fight against corruption. Corruption shouldn't be fought only politically. And when he initiates the walk, and now the youth are joining him into the walk, why should he complain? That's what he initiated. It is a cerebral manner that the fighters against corruption, the country has accused the President Museveni for failure to fight against corruption, and now to win public support is telling them, now you see, you used it to say, I've failed to fight corruption. I'm now on the front, I'm fighting against corruption. So that one cannot work because it is being fought in a political manner, and who will win the bread of fighting against corruption. If now some people, the youth, come to demonstrate, some of them, from my own perspective, they are coming in this guise of fighting corruption, but behind them, the front face reads, fight against corruption. But the behind face comes with another written slogan. I'm coming to contest. Are you seeing me? How I'm fighting corruption? So the two scenarios must change.
Thank you, Honorable.
Politically, legally and literally, Section 7 of the Inspector General of Government Act mandates the IGG with all powers to execute all the accused into courts of law, the anti-corruption court, to fight against corruption.
Is that where the problem is?
Section 21 of the Anti-Corruption Act also is properly stipulated, and even the offenses committed and the penalties are there. For me, I'm saying, beside the celebrities that are coming out as showbiz that have fought against corruption, we need the law at work. what is squeezing this country into a corner of insolvency? It is failure to have rule of law. The president, much as is a fountain of honor, but when the IGG comes with a report and again condemns her that you go slowly, when you over squeeze these people, they have swindled enough, and therefore they will divert it and invest it into other countries. You are offending the independence of these organs which have put in place in the fight against corruption.
Honorable
So
Tebandeke.
we need the law at work. We need legalities at work, a professionalism, rather than this ceremonial manner, cerebral manner, political manner of fighting corruption cannot lead this country anywhere.
Thank you, Honorable Tebandeke. Yes or no is a response I seek from you.
The country
No.
is squeezed.
I'm asking a question.
Yes.
You reply yes or no. You as Parliament, you are supposed to do oversight and accountability. Have you relegated that duty? Yes or no?
We have
Yes or no?
we have done the oversight, but of course if I answer
Honorable, yes or no?
yes or no, any open-ended question is not suitable for me to answer.
Thank you very much.
That's a good one.
Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma, thank you for joining us
I
this
had a
morning.
closed-ended
And-
question.
A quick correction. Mr. Tebandeke,
Yes, please.
in English, when you say there's a difference between celebrity and celebro. Celebro is something about the brain. A celebrity is a well-known person. So you lost me when you kept on saying in a
was a slip of
celebro
the
manner.
tongue.
Celebro
It was a
manner.
slip
And he
of the
repeated
Say
it
it
many
was
times.
a celebrity
Right,
manner.
I think it was a slip of the
And
tongue.
that we should often emphasize good grammar when we're
No,
having
I
public
think
conversation.
Okay.
we go to
Ba-
grammar schools.
bad
We shall
grammar.
use it here.
Okay,
Because
Bad grammar
Dr.
is
Yusuf
This is a
bad
foreign
Serunkuma.
language.
for eloquence and public
This is
You
a
see,
engagement.
foreign
when you
language.
go into
Let's
that,
go
we
to-
shall
Dr.
also
Yusuf
assess the
Serunkuma,
articulation, the vocabularies, the accent,
I'm a
Okay.
and
teacher.
that
I'm
one
a teacher.
depends on
And,
originality of
a teacher
ethnicity.
who gives room to people
Dr.
to
Tanga,
move on.
this is your student.
I'm a
Okay,
student, I'm a teacher, but who allows people to move on.
my panelists,
Because once-
can we move on
wa-
since
once
you allow
you
people
enter
to move on?
semantics,
Because
and
he was
this
saying
and the other.
celebra, I lost him. What does
No,
it mean?
no,
Is
no,
the brain
you just
problem? Is
say
it,
what
is it a
is right,
disease?
and the public will say. Just say
Because
what is
I
right.
wanted
But you
him to
can't
clarify
come here
for
to
the
start
for the
marking
entire
others.
public.
I will mark both of
Gentlemen,
you.
can-
Professor Tanga,
Gentlemen,
mark
can
both
we
of you.
move on?
Dr. Doitanga,
Dr.
as a professor,
Dr.
you know
Tango Doy and Dr. Yusuf
that
Serunkuma, allow me
eloquence
to
You know,
move
requires
he was
on.
that
my
we stick to
student,
good
and he
grammar.
has bad manners.
Allow
he wants
me,
to mark his teacher.
allow me to move on.
If I was to start marking, I'm the one supposed to mark everybody.
Good grammar
But I
is
don't
good for
want to
public
enter that.
conversation.
And in
Dr.
English,
Yusuf
I don't
Serunkuma,
want
I
to
want
enter
to understand
coloniality.
from you, with the strikes that you see evidently in the country,
Even the
is
cerebral
Uganda
cannot
facing a
only mean
critical
brain.
tipping point?
It can be an effect of a movement. And now you
Dr.
are creating
Yusuf
problems
Serunkuma.
yourself.
We move on. Is Uganda facing a critical tipping point? With the strikes you see, one after another, protests against corruption, accountability questions, questions on deployment of interns, but also questions of expenditures.
I mean, there's something exciting about protests. First of all, you know, governments, the thing which is called the government or the state, is often a collection of lawyers who make the laws and merchants, like traders. You can call them thieves sometimes, like people who are interested in endless accumulation as long as they have the law on their side. Now, people like that, the only way you make them accountable is you have to force them to be accountable. They don't do things on their own. It is in their interest to pursue their own interests at whatever expense. So they have to be coerced into doing the thing that they're supposed to do. This is why you have a thing called the Constitution. It's a tool of coercion that the people who would be holding power will be compelled by this book to follow ABCD. In fact, in that book, it also goes ahead and says the power, however, is in the hands of the people who will exercise it wherever they want. And there are avenues they can go through to engage, to coerce those holding power to do things. Even if it were me, myself, if I were the one in government, I need to be compelled to fulfill the mandate of the people. This is why there's a text called the Constitution. Now, as a document of coercion, it also spells out that the people have the right to go and protest their governments and demand that certain things are done, especially, as I said, thieves and lawyers will always pursue their own interests. So they have to be coerced to those things that favor the general public. the Constitution says, among other things, protests, demonstrations, including picking up arms, including staging a coup. I was one time here urging Muhoozi Kainerugaba that if he actually overthrew his father, the Constitution will protect him. Because we can argue that he overthrew his father to protect the Constitution, because his father has kindly abused the Constitution. So all the things are provided for in the Constitution. Now, what is exciting for me as a public observer, myself as a Ugandan, is that finally there's unity in waking up. Right? Finally, depending on so many persuasions, right? Everybody seems to be waking up and saying we need to demand the things that are due to us. Okay? So part of it is taxpayers' money, part of it is our country being sold to foreigners. All these things are coming together, and you guys are saying Parliament has to be protested. There's so much legis, there's so much wastage, there's so much theft in the dealer's house at Parliament Avenue. We need to protest these people. The people working downtown, I mean, the laws are upside down running this country. The business is upside down. Taxation, competition from foreigners. Our government does zero to protect its local entrepreneurs. Creativity is dead, right? Telecommunication, internet connection is so high. Electricity bills are so high. People are collecting rent in dollars in downtown Kampala, right? So when they say finally we need to demand that these things are corrected, it's the same way medical interns, and they have been going at this for quite some time. They've come back to it and say we need to demand. There's the money that we need as medical interns is so small compared to the amount of money that's being wasted. You see, we have done the math plenty of times that, you know, the speaker's dress, the one that she wears, this designer clothes that she buys from Europe, are enough to support a state school, are enough to provide sanitary wear, sanitary clothing for plenty of girls who are out of school because of sanitary clothing. So the beauty for me is that the country is standing up, and in these moments of standing up are the moments in which we check our leadership and say, hey, look, you could have won about the election, but we demand that you do certain things because you now hold the tools of coercion. We gave you the mandate to govern this country in the resources it has. You see, so allowing an enormous influx of foreigners into our economy, unregulated. You find all sorts of foreigners downtown running small retail business, which should be preserved for locals. The taxation without explanation, right? And then the worst of it is that after all these taxes are collected, and then you see them being wasted at the dealer's house at Parliament Avenue.
Has it reached the maximum that people have to move to that front, other than probably pursuing the would-be expected avenues, or it's just because the avenues have failed?
No,
they feel
no. So we have plenty of avenues, right? I write a column for the Weekly Observer. It's one of the platforms to speak to the public and speak to those in leadership weekly. That's one of the avenues that you could call, you know, the normal avenue. But going to the streets and protesting is an avenue protected by the Constitution. It's one of those that we have to do. I've said to you, there are extreme versions of this legislation. You could pick up arms and overthrow a government. It is Constitution protected. You could organize a coup. And I'm telling you, even now, I'm still urging Muhoozi Kainerugaba. He's in a very prime position to do this, to overthrow a government, to protect the text called the Constitution. Right? So all these avenues are available to the general public. And to choose which one to use is not upon those in power. It's upon us who feel disenfranchised and have to move. So all these avenues are open to us, and we think now is we need to compel. I said at the very beginning, governments don't do things. Liberty, freedom, public service are not given on a silver platter.
Where do you draw the line between the state and the government?
The state, the thing called the state, the government, is often of two people, lawyers and thieves. You see, and they will pursue their interests, however grievous they are to the rest of the public. They don't care. So you have to constantly compel them. I'm telling you, even if you are me, if I become a politician, you're right to call me a thief. This is why there's the text. They don't do, these are not favors. They have to be compelled. This is why we have a bunch of people who are supposed to be doing oversight. You ask this man, have you really relegated your role or you're doing it? He had no answer. He said, but. So you have a parliament which is meant to ensure that the judiciary and the executive are doing what they're supposed to do. You see, but
in the moment of collapse of all these things, the people have to take power back into their hands, because power belongs to the people, and the choice of what avenue to take is upon us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. I'll come back to you, Dr. Tango Doi, but just after this short break, and I'll be asking whether actually you're aware of what your over 300 members of parliament are up to in the legislature. We take a break.
It's the Big Talk. Good morning.
It is the Big Talk. Very good morning to you once again. Very interesting conversations with the gentlemen here. We are looking into the strike after strike. Is the nation tearing to the brink? Dr. Tango Doi is here with us, the NRM chairman for Electoral Commission, and also Honorable Tebandeke from Bali County, and Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. Thank you, and many thanks, gentlemen, for the conversations here. Dr. Tango Doi, I want to come to you, and I want to understand from you whether you are actually concerned, first, by what has been termed as the levels of corruption in the country, why Parliament is looked at as is being portrayed, or why it holds the position that it holds as of today in the public eye, but also whether you are aware of how much it could be painful to the many Ugandans of the present day situations that they have to undergo because of 1, 10 trillion lost, 2, leaders that seem not to be listening to them.
Thank you very much. I think those are very good questions. So first thing first, I think let's first correct the language of this debate. I'm not here to call MPs thieves, and I will not do that, because those are leaders. And I think we should actually respect them, irrespective of what you think of them in your personal capacity. When you're in public fora, I think we should respect them. They are not thieves. Government cannot be a bunch of thieves. That's another derogatory kind of approach to it. And I hope my young Serunkuma will address it. I'm also not here to debate the speaker's dress, because that is shooting me too low. Where she buys her dresses, where her husband goes with her, this and the other is not part of my debate here. Corruption. I think the NRM government have said it many times, and here as well. The NRM government will suffer and is suffering from its own success. The success, I'm not seeing NRM suffering from anything. It's only how to manage the success. Because once you say people must be liberal, people must be liberal. Now, if they behave in a queer way, one man's behavior or one woman's behavior should not be used in a stereotype manner to stereotype the whole parliament. I think it is quite wrong to think that the whole parliament is corrupt. That is absolutely unacademic, and I don't think I can take it. It's just like to say, a Muganda hurt me in the morning, and you say Baganda are heartless people. That's stereotype.
Doctor, the statement...
I want to go to what you ask me, but I want to put my thinking right.
Doctor, just to remind you, the president has said Parliament is corrupt.
That is not right. That's what I'm saying. It's not right. The entire parliament cannot be wrong. And the president is an individual. The president is an individual. The president could have said that. I have not seen it verbatim. I have not read it verbatim. If he said it, I'm saying it's not correct. Because within that parliament, we have those who are very good. And as a school teacher, as a teacher in my professionalism, the fact that you judge a student as being very good is because you compare that student with others. And if you say in a class of 50, this one is very good, you cannot measure that very good against a rock. You're against a performance of others. So you cannot tell me that parliament is very rotten. Parliament are all full of thieves. They are all thieves. That is stereotyping parliament, and I don't accept it.
They are thieves.
That is your view about parliament, which is wrong. Yes. And I want to emphasize that I'm not going to debate here irrationally. That one mistake of a parliamentarian, which is now in courts of law, we have no basis on what the judgment will be, should actually be seen to be crucifying all parliament. I'll not do that. Now, when you ask me about the strikes, I said in the beginning of this show that strikes are expression of grievances. And that is a right, even by the Constitution, like he said. He goes further to say, even the Constitution says you can even organize a coup. You must have a genuine reason. The Constitution is not just lanky. It's not just a wish away. There must be a basis for you to say, it is my right now to organize against this government. Don't encourage people to think you can just wake up in the morning and use the example of MK, a very disciplined soldier. Now you can wake up in the morning and say, I'm going for a coup. You must have some genuine reason. This is not the past time where a lumpen would just go to Radio Uganda and announce a coup. What other question did you ask me? Whether the traders...
You spent time
whether the tax... Listen to me. I'm actually dealing with the moderator and I'm helping you. The other question you ask is whether these taxes on whatever affect me. How do I see? How do I feel about the taxes? No country can run without taxation. No country can run without its citizens paying taxes. If you allow your country to run on foreign money, 100%, you're in your colonial state, 100%. That's what we avoided by saying we are independent. If they are arm twisting us because of the little they contribute to our budget, and we are now saying you can take your money for as long as we want to keep ourselves as independent socially, economically, and then we interrelate on that basis, you can't avoid taxes. But what is right, like Honorable Tebandike said, the taxation must be gradual, must be systematic, and must be the people implementing must be explanatory. So that me who pays taxes, I pay a lot of taxes in this country, must actually be taken through gradually, that the taxes we are paying are this, and the other. This strike in town of Ifris could have been avoided just through more dialogue and open talk. Yes, URA is doing it, but there are others also who are avoiding tax and leaving tax to be paid by a very small group of people. I pay taxes on property. I can't tell you that I love paying taxes. Nobody wants to. Even biblically, no one wants taxes. So about the corruption, like I said in the beginning, is an age-long biblical thing. Age-long. Even when you read the Bible, you read the Quran, you'll find corrupt people existed. The only thing is, how do we handle them? Do we handle corruption through demonstration in the streets? Like I said in the beginning, at inception, do we actually say, because it's my right to demonstrate, my target is Anita Mong? Are you fighting corruption? You are not. You are now focusing on an individual who is innocent until proven guilty, and you are there taking people's children to the street that she must resign, and you are ready to face the wrath of the security system. That is wrong. The methodology from the beginning, I said, I was a leader of Mwasa for 8 years in Makerere. I could find the grievances which suited a strike. I would talk to the powers that be. I would meet everybody responsible and exhaust the channels. And when the channels are not camping, I'll call a general assembly. And I would not declare strike as Tango Doi. The General Assembly would declare strike. That's the difference. But now, excuse me, I thought you were listening. And you were in Makerere at one stage.
The public is not Mwasa.
Which public are you talking?
You can't compare the general public to Mwasa.
So you want an anarchy. You want a country of anarchists. Everyone wakes up in the morning and starts a strike. You want that kind of country? Will you benefit from it?
No, but that's not what's happening.
No, but that's what you want. I am telling you, striking because you have a grievance is a right.
Yes.
Okay? But that right is not absolute. It is not your right to say you are going to strike and march through town and even destroy the other people selling their tomatoes on the streets. That is not right. The methodology was wrong. You forget that you are talking to people who are also knowledgeable. Your weakness is you don't listen. From the start, I said, and let me remind you because you are here, anyone saying I'm going to strike because my government is not serving me well has that right. But
we said protest. We're protesting.
Whether strike, whether protest, they are all aiming at one thing.
Then they're not violent.
Excuse me, don't go to semantics with me. Don't go to semantics with me. Please, protest, strikes, all are expression of grievances. It is only how you protest or how you express that grievance. I can protest by sitting in my house and not going to work. That's the protest. But you can also protest by going to the street. And when you do that as an organized group, saying we are closing our shops, you are protesting, but in a format of a strike. What are you telling me about semantics? Excuse me. You didn't take me to school. So what I'm saying here, literally, don't come here to think your degree in language is actually to help us, deviate us from what we are on principles. I want to say, as a student, you keep learning.
Can I interject? Can I interject?
Interject.
Yeah. So let me say, these are protests and demonstrations, peaceful protests. People holding placards, walking through the streets. There's no threat on people's property. There's no threat of violence. These are protests. When you call them a strike, at Mwasa you organized industrial action, a strike where you say we're going to hold our tools. That's a different ballgame altogether. The Constitution protects, the language is very clear in the Constitution, protests, demonstrations, not strikes. So every time you
thank you.
I think
I'll not
you're misleading.
You'll use your time to go to your semantics. All the things you are talking about end up with one goal. I have a grievance. Whether I'm protesting, whether I'm striking, whether I'm doing what, whether I'm looking left when people are looking right, because I'm grieved, it ends up in one basket. Stop taking us into those things. What the basis... Come again?
Why are the grievances seemingly not...
The grievances are dealt with in an organized manner. When I heard what he says twice in Makerere, okay, there was one big one for national insurance money where everyone was denying us. I said, but excuse me. Even the president at one time said, Tanga, you've come here with your team. It's like you went to the market, Kinyankole proverb. The market there, they have cheated you. Now you're beating the road. You're quarreling and hitting the road. That was a genuine cause. People's saving had gone. Nobody was listening. The staff say, we lay down tools. Okay? The university was paralyzed. What was the issue? Was it to overthrow government? No. It was to gain from that. Once that was given, it ended. So I don't want us to... What did you ask me? You asked me whether the taxes hurt the traders. Correct. Nobody wants to pay tax. I can tell you. Even me, as Tangodoi. But because a country has to run, there's no choice. We must pay tax. What do we need now to do? Which is another investigation. How do you use the money collected at the end of the day?
Thank you.
That is a discussion which must be open at Parliament and at all levels. Lastly, when Honorable Semadika started, he seemed to allude that taxation is a preserve of government. When the Dr. Serokuma came, he seemed to allude that government is a bunch of thieves. I will take you back to civics, which I studied. What is government? Government is you, me, and everybody. Therefore, if they're a bunch of thieves, you are also part of the thieves. I submit.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tangodoi.
He didn't do civics in P3. You didn't. It had been abolished.
And after that, your government, let me give you information. Your government,
yes,
because studies such as civics and political education were awakening the public. You know what Museveni's government did? The government that you serve?
Our government, me and you.
Your government.
Our government
removed those subjects. They don't do it anymore. Because the masses were being awakened. Museveni said, you see, you're a professor of history. You know what? You know the threat. You know the threat that just teaching history.
No, history is there. He only said, let's reorganize how we teach history.
I said, do you know how
we should not just teach the French Revolution?
Man is threatened by the teaching of history.
No, he's not. He's not.
I'm telling you.
He's not.
You see the subjects you're quoting, civics. They are not there.
He's not.
Your man removed them. You hear proudly reciting. You don't even know they are not there anymore.
As a professional
Honorable Tebandeke, I want to understand.
You don't know that they're there?
Where you
they are not there. You don't know them. Your man removed them. You don't know. Your man removed them. Look at this one.
I want to understand from you whether government at this point can withstand that mounting pressure and the issues that have come.
He will discuss it in a biased way. Can I answer you that this government can handle all the strikes?
Honorable Tebandeke.
I know it's going to bias you.
Now, before
the
you
two of
I
them.
also needed to make some correction. as a professional teacher at higher level, as civics,
What does that
political
mean?
education, actually civics is taught at both. From primary level, it is integrated into Spanish political education. Then some
Tell him.
beginning.
So those of us that have
Then some
studied
of the
after
subjects that
2000,
look to have been
what do we do with it?
were just integrated into the syllabus too. Then a doctor called the parliament thieves. Actually, from the language you wanted to dwell on so much, it is also wrong grammatically. You cannot have any government official and misuses any resource and becomes the thief. That is corruption. According to the Penal Code Act, now let's speak in terms of law. Section 254, theft is charged to a layman person that is not in any office. When he's in the office of government, then he's charged of corruption. When it is a private entity, then it becomes embezzlement. Therefore, calling members of parliament who are government servants thieves, it does not apply.
Honorable
would
Temanike,
rather
today you are
concentrate
happy to
on-
be called a government servant.
I-
Oftentimes you don't want to be called
No,
that.
we are servants of people, and the government means people. However, it is conditioned to interpretation. Not everybody is government. It's only that section of people that are given power to lead the others. Personally here, I'm government. But when it comes to parliamentary sitting by rules of procedure, I sit on the opposition side, then it's me who made these rules of procedure. Then the government is the part with the leading number of parliament that sit on the right-hand side of the speaker. Then for us, we sit as alternative government to oversight what the other side is doing. So
This man is opposition.
I wanted to do that.
But
When we speak
enlightened.
about
enlightened.
corruption and the demonstration, Ugandans are by law mandated to fight against corruption. It's a
Honorable, my
constitutional
question
mandate.
is whether government can withstand amidst the challenges of the protests.
Government withstanding, I think it's a bit logical, but I cannot credit this government that it will withstand this. What it will resort into is beating up people, arresting as it is, and any other sort of kind that would happen. However, for me, what I want to bring out is that the president himself, President Museveni, when he called on the Abazukulu to help him in the fight against corruption, I think he was not systematic enough. First of all, the call was regular. It was a general one. It did not prescribe where to begin from and when. So now when the Abazukulu have come on board, why should they be arrested? First of all, I concur with the doctor and also the two doctors that demonstration is also a constitutional mandate. But why should we reach at that extent of demonstration? Literally, the public has got, in my own view, three activities to do, three roles to play. One is the voting, which is a constitutional right. Now, after the public has voted, as mandated in Article 59 and Article 1 of the Constitution, after voting, what else do they do is to report. On reporting, it's where we get the mandate to represent them. So the reporting can be in writing, can be in talking, can be in dialogue, can be defiance, can be demonstration, and any other. So I don't want the public to misquote me that I'm against the demonstration. The demonstration is a constitutional mandate. What happens in Uganda, when Ugandans are showing their grievances towards any office or agency that has not satisfied them, then the police that would come on board to guide and protect the demonstrators, they take a side. And instead of guiding, they just stampede the entire process. And that's what the police did. I was one time listening to the spokesperson of Uganda police. Instead of receiving the demonstrators and leading them to the office that they desire, he was just warning them, nobody should tamper. You should not even risk to come and demonstrate. Who are you police to stampede the constitutional mandate of Ugandans, which is a fundamental right? For me, I think if police was genuine enough if police was on the side of protection of Ugandans and their property as mandated in Article 212, then it would receive these demonstrators, lead them systematically to Parliament. If they had a petition, then they would serve in their petition and lead them back. Yes.
In the first place you said the people demonstrating have faces behind them.
Yes.
But again, you don't want police that probably has equally different perspective of them to handle them the way they were handled.
No, I explained the two issues at a go. Maybe allow me simplify. I said in a celebrity manner and the political populism.
Good grammar.
Ugandans are demonstrating with the two faces. A demonstrator comes on the front face written, Anita must resign. But behind the face, where you don't know, there is another statement reading, Anita must meet me. Then another Ugandan comes in this guise of demonstration saying Parliament is full of thieves. Corruption, the fight against corruption, those are the front statement. But behind such a Uganda, there is also an invisible statement that is reading, I must join Parliament. Then if Parliament is rotten, as per se, in reference to Dr. Serunkuma, why should they go to Parliament? And if Parliament is rotten, that is a fallacy of generalization. Am I rotten? If it's opposition and you say Parliament, including us opposition and the lead of opposition, is Joel Osenyonyi rotten? Because when you say Parliament is rotten, that is an abuse. And this is a logic which President Museveni uses to tarnish the image of Parliament so that every time of election, Parliament receives new members who are very ignorant and not yet oriented to performance of Parliament. Then he utilizes such a chance to create his own, to achieve his own objective. By the time members of Parliament come well acquainted with the services and the role of Parliament, they are voted out. And this is a logic.
Just a slight intervention that President Museveni's intention has never been to have new parliament every new season.
They said ignorant by MPs.
President Museveni has never, and NRM
no,
has
but
never.
This one is also out of order. And I don't know
wished that
if he's a doctor and he's saying ignorant MP. How do you assess ignorance?
Your words.
Ignorance.
You said they're ignorant.
Honorable
I don't
Tebandeke,
know
allow
anything.
me.
Then I wouldn't be speaking.
That's
and
your
you have
word.
been nodding a head that you have
Honorable
spoken a
Tebandeke.
point.
You said they're
Honorable
ignorant.
Tebandeke
I
and
cannot
Dr.
tolerate
Yusuf
debate,
Serunkuma.
emotional debates. Yes?
Allow me to guide. Be careful with the words. You said members of Parliament often come and they're ignorant. That was your own statement. Do you want us to hold you by that?
No, then he referred it to me. Was I referring to myself?
But you said new members of Parliament
Yes.
are ignorant.
So when
What do we do with that?
that is a target by President Museveni
And
because he's the very one.
That's what I was refuting.
He's the very
Dr.
one who
Tagode.
said there is corruption at Parliament. Then I want to look at it in legal terms. When we are fighting against corruption, like the celebrity and the political populism, when we put it aside, what does the law say? The problem in Uganda, we are lacking rule of law. And where there is lack of rule of law, then a country can move in a zigzag style, the way it is. When the president becomes a celebrity and the only incumbent person to fight against corruption and he does not want any other person to help, what does it mean? The president, as a fountain of honor by law, is only mandated to appoint the IGG and the parliament approves. Then after the IGG has been appointed, by Section 7 of the Inspector General of Government Act, is entirely responsible to lead the fight against corruption. So what happens in here? The IGG comes up with a report, and the president also stampedes such a report. Then
Honorable
the IGG
Tebandeke, I want
goes.
to just have
so
one
where
question.
there is no rule of law,
Honorable
we
Tebandeke,
shall,
just have...
allow me complete this statement. Where we lack a rule of law, we shall not register a genuine fight against corruption. And we shall remain in this guise of fighting against corruption, but shall be full of optimistic people who are having hidden agendas to achieve, but not entirely to fight against corruption. I would wish, by Section 21 of the Anti-Corruption Act, the penalties are prescribed. Where a corrupt official is offended, accused, and convicted, imprisonment is in there, prescribed. Then what he has taken in this guise of corruption can also be confiscated. For me, I've taken a move. Leave alone this Dr. Serun Kumawa merely talking. I'm moving to side effect, in a two-side manner. I'm moving politically, but also by law. This is what the law says. I wrote on the 17th of July 2024. I wrote to the Inspector General of Police, and I quoted for him all these of scandals which have happened in Uganda since 2007.
Which scandals are those?
Yeah, this letter was addressed to him, and also quoted it to the office of the president. I quoted it to Speaker of Parliament, Deputy Speaker, Leader of Opposition, Prime Minister, and any other agents. Why? I don't want Ugandans to only fight corruption in a political perspective. Corruption will not end, because whoever fights corruption in a political manner is just fighting to become a breadwinner, but not entirely to fight corruption to its cessation. So we want the law at work, where the IGG fails must come out openly and explain to Ugandans as to why he has failed.
So what do you want the IGG to do with that letter?
Such scandals, pardon?
What do you want? What does that letter
I
address?
address as follow. Request to intervene into the increasing corruption in Uganda. I'm not going to read all of it.
Addresses.
I was reminding the IGG that by Section 7 of the Inspector General of Government Act, you should operate in the same line. We should move a linear movement, and you fight against corruption. And I quoted for him, Uganda is losing worth
so
10 trillions every financial year in the corruption scandals.
So
and when these people are being accused, like when they're accused, they are being charged before court, what happens? Even the court cases become ceremonial. They don't speak to the law. Because none of the corrupt officials has ever been accused, convicted, and his or her property confiscated back into the national treasury. And that's where the effect is. These resources are for Ugandans, including him. Now, after accusing and charging such corrupt officials, should the game only end there? We need a remedy. As we who are affected, as Ugandans need a remedy such that those those convicted officials, their property, their assets can be confiscated and converted into monetary terms into the national treasury. Then they serve in the intended objectives as before.
Honorable Tebandeke.
Yes.
You are a member of the opposition.
Yes.
Away from your duties as a member of parliament, as the opposition, you say you hold government accountable. And I want to know, away from doing the either unnecessary or usual of writing to the IGG to tell her again of her mandate, I want to know what you, first, who is learned with the law, but also as an alternative government, what you have been able to offer to government as a mode of fighting corruption. You as an individual, I want to know what you have been doing.
Actually, whatever Parliament does in reference to Article 164 of oversight and monitoring is a tool, is a measure, a means to fight against corruption. We have done the oversight.
Honorable Tebandeke,
yes.
You are offering alternatives to government because you're saying, reason you move in the parties you move because you think the government alternatives or the government modes do not work. And so you are an alternative government. What do you bring on table in the fight against corruption? Oftentimes you have said the systems have failed to work. What more do you want the IGG, who you say has failed oftentimes, to do?
Actually, Parliament may not work all around. The three arms of government have specific roles and duties. What Ugandans have in mind, that being a member of Parliament, I can go make oversight, make a report and recommend, arrest that official, put him or her into cell, imprison and punish him or her. No. A member of Parliament, fun enough with the law instructs us eyes on, hands off. After we have recommended, the entire work lands into the hands of executive as implementers of policies and recommendations of parliament.
Honorable
Maybe.
Tarandeke, have you offered alternatives to the government that you find challenged with corruption?
Yes, even by yesterday, the leader of opposition was giving a response to the State of the Nation address. And all whatever he gave in was our views as members of parliament
What are your
from the
alternative
opposition.
ways of fighting corruption?
They are these very ones that let whoever is suspected of corruption be arrested, charged before court, that's anti-corruption court, convicted, and on conviction, let the charges therein be served. And let whatever is being convicted of him or her be fined and be converted into monetary terms, put into the National Consolidated Fund, and serves in there the real purpose as that resource would serve. That's only. And what we need else is rule of law.
Thank you, Honorable
Where
Tarandeke.
we lack rule of law at place, then the country is running a zigzag format, and we shall not fight corruption at all. Let the agencies be independent. Where the president comes and he points to Otango Doi, arrest that one, arrest that one. When will he arrest Serunkuma? When is his favorite? Let these agencies and the units he has put in place work independently from any whatever influence and from any whatever fallacy. Then we shall fight against corruption.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Yusuf. I want to know from
I
you.
like the way Adoi Tanga was trying to say, Honorable Tarandeke, you've said enough. That is okay.
No, what he's saying
Thank you.
is that independence of the institution is okay.
Thank you. Dr. Yusuf.
I just want to say something.
Mm.
Listening to Tarandeke, and as an observer of the public conversation, especially when technocrats speak, and I want Dr. Tanga to listen carefully.
What is this you are going to say?
I think one of the challenges of our public conversation, our public conversation suffers from the thinking that the people in government have technical challenges. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing in the fight against corruption. So we tend to think that it's ignorance on the part of the technocrats, or they have forgotten their mandate. That's what we tend to think. It's the critique I had when my friend, he used to be my friend, now we're not friends, Ramadan Gobi, became permanent secretary for Minister of Finance, because, we used to write together. I mean, we used to have appear in these spaces together. He often had, when you have a piece of an exam and they're asking you questions and you insert in the right answers, and then somebody inserts in the wrong answers. So the person who inserted in the wrong answers should get out of Bank of Uganda or Minister of Finance, and those with the right answers should get in. The thinking in our public conversation, including our technocrats, is that the people in government, in police, in the judiciary, don't know the right thing to do. So we tend to remind them or ask them to get out of those offices so that we can occupy them. Move out, I take the office because you still not know what to do. Or we write to them a letter to say, you need to be doing ABCD. I can guarantee you 120%, everybody in the office that you occupy, they've read the terms of engagement, they've read the law, and they know exactly what they're supposed to do. The problem with our country is that it's a political space. Everything is politicized. You have this the thing that we say here is that if somebody is accused of a crime, if somebody's crime becomes a thing of public conversation, we don't ask whether they actually committed the crime. We ask, who did they offend in the line of power? If they say you construct a house in a wetland and you have to be kicked out, especially if you're a big person, we ask, don't you know the right people? It's not whether it's criminal to build in a wetland or not. It's you actually built in a wetland, as many others have done. Why is it you now? So we normally ask, when somebody's crime of corruption of something becomes public, who did you offend? We don't ask whether you actually committed the crime, because we know you actually committed the crime. But it's not right time to make it public. So the only time it becomes an issue is when you offend somebody. So the point I'm making is this. Our corruption problem is not a technical problem. It's not because we don't know. It's not because the people in those offices don't know what they're supposed to do. It's because we live in a regime of politics
that has endorsed corruption as a way of reproducing itself. That even if you're going to do the right thing, which you know, you need to listen to the politics. You need to read the political pulse. What is the political barometer reading like before I go ahead and do the right thing? So this, I needed to say that because this is to clarify our conversation. And Dr. Tang, I think you agree on me on this one. You may not do it publicly, but privately, I think you do.
No, if it's good, I agree here. But I'm not a sycophant to just say you have said something right.
But
that's not our.
But this is
what is that thing you say?
Our problem is not technical.
What's our problem?
It's not we don't know. It's not because we are weak in understanding the law. It's because the political barometer reads otherwise. The point number 2 is I want to tell the story of Faiza Salma, right? Faiza Salma. Maybe you know her, maybe you don't.
What does the political barometer reads?
It's that corruption is the order of the day. And I said, I need to take back a word. You picked my usage of the word thieves as to describe MPs. I'll take that word back and I'll provide another one. Maybe they are a mafia. Maybe a mafia is okay. Maybe we can call the elite chifesi.
You're going to call them cartels.
Maybe that's much better. So the elite version of Sobi.
Entirely. I just don't want to use it.
So we could, because you found offense.
All the vocabularies don't apply.
You found offense, but I want to tell the story of Faiza Salma because
Faiza Salma, this girl of
because the MP here insisted, and you seem to agree with him, that many people are going to the protest because they want to become celebrities, because they want to join parliament. so I should say Pfizer is a celebrity already. Already, the public knows her.
What is she?
Let me say what I'm going to say.
I don't know what she is.
Is a celebrity already. She has many shows where she's in the public domain. So she's visible. She's visible. Don't vulgarize my story, Doitanga. She's visible as a public person. So for her,
why didn't I know her?
Well,
by the way,
maybe the
it's
world
my first time to hear of her.
Is not my world.
It's not known anywhere. Even in
I didn't know you. I found you here. In fact, I'm learning many things about you. I didn't know this man. You how many are you? You need a stadium to. You have never seen you speak on. Don't challenge me to go on parliament. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me to go there. So Faiza Salma goes to the streets out of a genuine interest in rectifying the ways in which this country is governed. Because I've said the diagnosis of the problem is that you don't need to know her name. It's not really your league. Maybe you don't need to know.
It's not, because I've never interacted with that.
I'm responding. You interact with thieves. It's okay. I'm responding to the insistence that people are going to the public.
The substance, yes.
Are going to the public because they want to become celebrities. And I want to use our story to highlight this dilemma that you put protesters into. Because people's motivations, I think maybe, I don't know for you, I don't know for him, is to become celebrities and to make money. That so you go to the protest because you think at one point Anita Among should call you and you negotiate. But you see, many young people have been offered to meet Anita and they've rejected it. Many. If you've been in the space where the protests are happening, many have received these phone calls and they have turned down. Edith Nakalima called a couple of them. They turned down going. So if you say they're on the streets and among I think they want to be called, many are turning down these calls. There's a genuine, and I think this is the problem, I think maybe it's a generational gap, or once you enter parliament, you lose your head. There's motivation outside money in becoming famous. This motivation we need to understand that there's a problem with the way we're governed. So there's motivation just from the basis that this country has to be better. So not everybody you see on the street, a majority of those talking to the street are not going there because they're looking for spaces to be visible. Many are already visible. They may not be visible to you, but in the social media platform where visible translates into money, visibility in social media translates into money, many of these people are visible and they are earning from these spaces. But I also got to say one thing, Shamim. I felt a bit of insult. You know, if you read my column, one of the things this country suffers is small dreams and small pleasures, right? Our dreams are small and our pleasures are minimal. A big car, a big house, if you're a man, a couple of concubines, and then you're finished. And this is an affliction not just for MPs, but for many of our friends in serious positions, including the president himself, and those around him. The dreams are minimal.
Dr. Yusuf,
Mani-
do you,
I want
in
to
what
no.
you say?
Now, I want to respond to something he said about people interested in joining parliament. The dreams are very small, and the pleasures are complete at the basic level. Cars, houses, a bit of cash, and that's it. Right? So because our dreams are small, many of our people think that making that small space have like 1,000 MPs is the dream for many people in the public conversation. That's what people think, that everybody who is involved in the ways in which this country is governed.
But can I
think
inquire shortly?
the dream is to join that place.
Can I inquire from Dr.
You see,
shortly?
Let him complete.
You
let
could
him
ask,
complete
ask,
his
let him
submission.
inquire.
Ask, yeah, ask.
When we are talking about corruption as a terminology, it is being dishonest. And even by mere speaking on this microphone, where you dishonestly speak, you also corrupt. So you can't say our dreams are very small and tiny. Do you know how big I dream?
Okay.
Do you know how much I dream during the
I
night?
said this was about
So
you.
you also corrupt.
Okay, I said
and
this
that's
was-
the
okay.
struggle against corruption
Honorable
which we are
Candidate,
facing.
This wasn't about you. I said starting from the
Dr.
way the top.
Yusuf,
I was talking about the president. That the president's dreams are small and minimal. The people around
the
him.
president?
I include. That's why I went all the way up. I didn't come to you.
Gentlemen, let's leave
I went all the way up.
world
It's not about you. You're not in this. You're like because look, this country is so rich. This country can work for everybody. This country is endowed. When we give you a government to run, we don't give you a government to collect taxes. We give you entire human and natural resources to run and make us rich as a country. We give you our airspace, our marine resources, our land resources, our agriculture. We give you our telecommunication. We give to you this to run our finances. You don't just collect it from taxes from us. So you have to dream bigger outside of yourself, and the dream has to be this country can work for all of us. Now, unlike many of other people, I don't think the money being shared in Parliament, the money being stolen, I don't think is mostly our taxes. I don't think so. I think most of the money stolen in this country is cash handouts by people buying this country. My biggest charge against Museveni, not you, I think you're not really there to be charged against anything. My biggest charge is that Museveni has handed over this country to a cartel of people who are willing to give him a cut to take the country away. Right? So the handouts you see in Parliament,
That's not true.
for me, there's a lot of evidence. So for me, is when I look at their corruption in Parliament, my accusation against them is accepting to receive plenty of handouts and making laws. I tell you, Professor Tanga, you come from the East. A man stood on the floor of Parliament. A foreign exporter of our marine resources, stood on the floor of Parliament and said he wants Parliament to make a law that stopped Ugandans from eating emputa so that he can export all of it. By the time you have the courage to stand on the floor of Parliament as a foreigner and demand that Parliament gives you an instrument to stop Ugandans from eating fish in their marine resources, you're coming from a strong place. He stood on the floor where this man serves. I don't know how long you joined.
Actually, it's me who stood against that on record.
By the way, I'm actually shocked to learn this man identifies as opposition. I'm really shocked to learn that. But
Elections.
Professor Tanga, so my charge is that for a man to have the audacity to stand there and say things like that, he's coming from a strong place. He's cushioned by the political barometer.
That's the democracy you want, that everyone can talk anything. That's the democracy you want.
Actually, I don't hold any strong place, but
But
I was so
can I finish this point? So the charge against corruption.
I hope I'll come in.
The charge against corruption is people using that space to hand over this country and live a larger than life like a large life. Two Mercedes Benzes driving into Parliament, designer clothes coming, wearing them. So maybe also I need to.
Dr. Yusuf, I want to understand from you why or whether you think the legitimate fight against corruption, why you think probably it's being twisted to fit certain understanding or to serve particular interests of individuals. For instance, when Honorable Tebandeke said these are faces that are of popularism and seeking for spaces for them to either earn or sorts.
You know, the shocker for me was to learn that actually Tebandeke is a member of the opposition. You know, I mean, at some point I used to insist that in my public commentary, I only insist on focusing on the opposition because there was a glimmer of hope with the opposition. But I was shocked. I mean, after spending like an hour talking to him, agreeing with the man from government, and then I learned that he's opposition. Then I'm like, what is this? But anyway, to respond to the question,
I agree on matters of land principles.
to
Other
respond-
issues I disagree.
Yeah.
to respond to the question, is that, you know, the aisle between opposition and NRM has been, they're happy people on either side of the aisle. Both of them are happy.
They're okay with the status
with
quo.
the status quo.
Thank you very much,
So the,
Doctor. I want us to take a
the
break.
vulgarized narrative is that people are being bought to protest. That people have other interests away from just fighting the crisis we have. The other motivations, including going abroad, being paid. There's this vulgarized version that the Ford Foundation is funding us. Yeah, you know, and then they forget that the quintessential colonial comprador we have in this country. Do you need to know him? The biggest colonial emissary in this country is Yoweri Museveni. And then is the man accusing Gabriel of
He's a
getting funding
colonial
from-
comprador.
the quintessential, the best on the African
No, the
continent.
quintessential is beyond
He's the best.
repairs where
I'm
they are
telling you, if IMF
quintessentials.
said
Please.
jump, Museveni will ask how high.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Let's take a break. When we return, we should be able to know
Let me
whether
tell
actually
you, the failure of this country.
Big Talk 106.1 Next Radio.
you think government has capacity to deal with the crisis of strikes because of issues that have been here and deemed to be long overdue.
First of all, I think let me apologize to my son, who is watching and has sent me a message that because I said who is Salima, he feels that I've degraded Salima, that she's a very big person. Actually, I'm sorry, my son, Bill, I'm sorry, you're watching me. I don't know, that's person of your level. Those are Gen Zs. I'm sorry if she's a very important person, a very good celebrity like Seronkuma did say, she appears in talk shows. Me, I attend to political talk shows. That's why my favorites are in NBS, NTV, UBC. Besides, you asked a question which was dodged by very eloquent presenters here. Can government withstand amidst the challenge of these strikes? I think your direction is Gen Zs who are striking in this town, the medical people. The medical intern hurts me. I must say it publicly. That issue of medical intern, and I'll visit the Minister of Health, must be resolved once and for all. In a country where we still want doctors up to Health Center 3, and we say we are not prepared for the medical interns, that's poor planning that's my thinking. It's poor planning on the side of the ministry. If the Minister of Health can put up that fight up to Parliament, the appropriation should be done. That the medical interns are hanging, they cannot, no. But I don't think it is also right for medical interns to join the street fights. They are not professional. Look at the medical school we had, where the medical doctors would cross the Katanga Valley in the morning. Very precise time. I want them to go to that. But this issue,
how do you want them to take that lane?
Is government able to withstand these challenges? Yes. All state machineries of government, apparatus are intact. If we had rebellion within the army, and there's rebellion within the medical, if we had rebellion within the police, you would say the government is falling. The three anchors of government, according to Plato, and you are a student of that, is that philosopher wanted the philosopher kings, he wanted the auxiliary, and of course the producers. The auxiliary to hold the military. In every government, you need that, apart from the UN states. Now, if you say, is the government, yes, the government is handling. People are more happy. Ugandans are the happiest people by the Happy Index, UN. The happiest people in the world, Uganda ranks among the first. Uganda is the best tourist destination for now. Uganda is the best investment destination. At UN level, not even Uganda statistics. The village poverty is now poverty of the mind. Because with all these government interventions, much of what should be done is poverty of the mind and the political mindset by politicians at the parliament and district level. I come from a district which was once the town which was once the third industrial belt of Uganda, Tororo. But if you hear the talk shows now in Tororo, it must be East FM. They must be discussing how do we divide Tororo into many districts. A question I've been asking them, how can many districts fight the household poverty? No, Tororo belongs to us according to the colonial boundaries. We are thinking of the East African Federation. You are thinking of how you can be divided using the colonial boundaries. Yet the purpose of those boundaries was to divide and rule. That's the debate which is there. So mindset change. Emyoga, money is taken. What does someone do? A person who gets the money, if it is 2 million, a person marries a third wife. How does a third wife alleviate you from poverty? Mindset change. And who is supposed to fight this? All of us leaders. A person gets the PDM money and buys a TV, buys a posh mattress, and sleeps on the mattress with the wife, as the children are poor, cannot go to school. Government should help us. There's UPE, but you also put your input. What is government? Seronkuma. Government is you and me. So, is this government going to collapse because of this? No. The country is moving steadfast towards the second-rate economy. We are moving very well. We only have to plunge the holes, and that's where corruption comes in. Whatever is sent to the people in the village must reach the village. You are not seeing the districts. Corruption at district level affects the population down there more. If Tororo gets money, 5 billion, to bring back to the treasury unused because of procurement, who are these guys who are whatever? The people picked by the district. You know, decentralization, even decentralized tribalism, to the extent that a Muganda who would be too good cannot be given a job in a district just because this is not your district. Now, if you are given that role and you can't perform, you are a failure of government at that level. What about leaders? What is leadership? Seronkuma will say Museveni.
Into a class, a piece of in classroom. You say, what is government, what is leadership? What are you doing, Professor?
I'm talking to all and sundry. I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing the public. This TV is watched by very many people.
What is the point you're making?
What is it you want me to do? I cannot make a point according to your perception.
Because I'm struggling to understand.
You struggle, and that's good for a weak student like you.
Okay, it's okay.
It's good for a weak student.
For example, you call me part of the government, but I'm government.
You are part of government.
But this government.
You are part of government.
If I go to the street to protest,
no, I said about street protest, and I maintain it is your right to protest when you have a grievance, but it's your right to use the correct method, not to violate the rights of others.
Who determines the correct method?
It should be. That's where the law comes in. Look at Thomas Hobbes. You're a student of philosophy, 1588 to 16 something, writing about the state. We cannot just live in a state of anarchy, because every individual is greedy, is selfish, is wealth-oriented. He wants prestige. Now, you want to use strikes to make sure you are the one seen to be fighting corruption more than the MPs. And you want to parade it in every street and disorganize every office. Is that good? That's anarchy. But what is the role of government, which was elected for 5 years? Is to make sure there's peace in the country. And if it handles you because you are doing the wrong thing, it is also doing its role. You get that?
But you said I am it.
You are government in your own cluster, but that government which must follow the law. Are you going to live in a state of anarchy that everyone wakes up in the morning and demonstrates?
Why do you call it anarchy?
How are we going to go into it? You can't run a state with anarchy. You can't be in a state without governance, without correct governance. You can't say everyone must form themselves in groups and every morning you demonstrate. Look at the Gen Zs in Kenya. Are you happy with what they achieved?
They're very inspiring.
That inspiration should have been well thought and well directed. But going in, banning everything you can ban, Uganda House, this is, that's not right. That's anarchy. Their problem was leaderless movement. You must have a leader. You must guide us. We are going for this target. But you just go and ransack everything? You want that in Uganda? Seronkuma, you want that in Uganda? No, I can't. I can't stand that.
Professor Tanga,
I can't stand that.
Professor Tanga, with due respect, decent demonstration to express a grievance We've gone over this for a very long time. It's part of our political dispensation. It's protected by the Constitution. And in this country, the lie, which we should try and live with, is that we claim to be a democracy. We tend to be a democratic country. And among the other tenets of democracy is the freedom to protest and organize and mobilize and demonstrate. It's a core component of a democratic dispensation. And now that we live under a regime of human rights, that should be very jealously protected. And if it's not protected, I write in the Observer this week that as we come here and posture and be political and vulgarize and abuse genuine demonstrations of grievancy, we have set ourselves on a very problematic course that we're squeezed between Siad Barre's Somalia, al-Bashir's Sudan, and Arab Moi's Kenya.
You wrote it what?
I write in the Observer.
Observer this week.
These people don't even read newspapers.
No.
This is one of the
I'm not
top newspaper in the country.
That's not the only thing I do.
And
I
you don't
plant
read
coffee,
and you don't
I
read
grow
its
maize.
columnists.
There are other things I
But
do.
you're in a public conversation. Anyways, the point I'm making, you've
You
said
mean
that
Observe is a must read for everybody?
it's a top newspaper. No, but for people in the public
Let's
conversation, I
update
think you should
Well,
know.
maybe my taste is New Vision and Monitor.
If you're in the public conversation, you
Let's
should
check.
know. We have been said,
People are reading book a day.
Professor Tanga, you have set us on a dangerous path. And when this
When you are
house,
taking my time,
and when
and
this
yet I need
house
to react to
banned-
you.
well, I think I was making a small point.
No, you
that
are reacting to me.
That is,
Freedom to organize.
yes,
freedom
especially
to
if we claim to
demonstrate.
be under a
Okay?
democracy. If we live this life, let's live it fully.
Freedom to demonstrate is okay. Freedom to organize
You can be
demonstrate is okay.
breaking people's bonds,
Once
throwing
you
him in
freedom-
jail.
I thought you were taking my time. I'm answering you. Freedom to organize is okay. Freedom to demonstrate is okay. But the freedom to respect others in that process of doing your right is also okay. And who protects the others? The other side of government. If you are coming as a wave from all walks, how will the country? Every day lost, the country loses revenue. Those demonstrations which you wanted for 1 week would cost the government over 10 billion.
You know how much?
And
You know how much you lose every day
okay,
for stolen money?
if you lost 10 billion in 10 days, okay, would that be good for you?
You know how much we lose every day from stolen money?
That is what we fight, but do we fight it by causing more destruction?
You know, you.
The method is what I'm on.
So let me tell you,
We are agreed on the gist that demonstration is a right. Organizing to do it is all right. But the method to do it must be
We lose
agreeable.
money because we lose much more.
Even saying you lose money to both demonstration and what is okay is what we
You know
agree
how much
with
money
you.
we lose when 70 blocks roads entering Kampala because it's just going to pass?
Now that's
You know how
another
much
thing.
business is lost?
Let
And
me
he does
first.
this
Let,
continuously.
could we be democratic here? Allow me my space. Can I answer what you brought? Notwithstanding the Observer story, which I'll read and I'll call you. What I am saying here, it's your right to have that freedom to organize and even to demonstrate. And it is enshrined in the Constitution. And as a constitution and law-abiding citizens, that is what is said. But the method is where we differ. That the person you want to protect by saying corrupt people are taking your money are also saying, but we must have a living every day. We must do our market things downtown. Now you want to go and demonstrate downtown and disrupt even that way.
Everybody's protesting interns.
You are,
business people
then
downtown.
secondly, the target you are on is wrong. You are targeting an individual called Anita Among. That was wrong. Anita Among targeted like some of you were
to give you a
targeting.
full lecture
And that's
on
where
this one.
Honorable Sebandeke is
I
partly
need to
right.
give you a full lecture on this one. Anita
A
Among.
full lecture.
Yeah, Anita Among ceased being
You
a
want
private
to
person.
discuss Anita Among without her presence here?
Once you hold a public office,
I
which we
think-
pay for.
Yes. Even when
You
a,
hold a public office.
even when a monkey climbs a tree, a monkey becomes naked.
Honorable Tanga, if you're not honorable, Dr. Tanga, if you
I'm
hold
not
a
honorable.
public office which we pay for at a level of the Speaker of Parliament,
Yes.
you cease being a private person. You
Okay.
become a
That's okay.
public
That's okay.
person.
That's okay.
That every aspect of your life becomes subject.
That's okay. That's
from your
okay.
dress, from your eating, from your driving.
Do you do that public scrutiny through a demonstration? You do that public scrutiny by writing a memo writing a whatever
Then
and handing over.
You didn't understand what I said.
No, we must be organized. We must be organized.
Public scrutiny.
Organize, not agonize. Let's organize.
Thank you, Doctor. Honorable Tabandeke. Yes, please. Two things: repression, suppression. How should government deal with the strikes that might
The end justifies the means.
to end?
First of all, I'm wondering how my colleagues are turning the talk show into simple matters of reading, observe, monitor, obokedde, or knowing Salima to make someone so superb and a celebrity in it. However, at a point where we are, I thought we would debate issues with relevancy and come up with solutions. Mere lamentation cannot create solutions to Ugandans, and that's where I differ. I would prefer scrutinizing out a challenge and create a choice. The problem with Ugandans, that's why the government can no longer hold the guts to redeem Ugandans. We are in a total depression. We are facing a number of government of Uganda being led by President Museveni. That's why we are having increasing number of challenges vis-a-vis the choices which are very limited. And that one defines an economic depression. A country where its politics is at a peak, then economics is at a lower pace, then we cannot move on. So when you see our government as of now and Uganda as a country, the measures of the national economy indicate that we are in a total depression, like I gave my introduction, where we have the GDP almost constant. But the government comes out to the president during the State of the Nation address, quotes an increasing unit of GDP just to create impressions before Ugandans. Where the GDP is low, GDP per capita is very low, and the cost of living is very high. Standard of living is very high. The taxes are very high. Inflation is increasing every after day. You can't say such a government can hold the capacity to move Ugandans forward. What should be done? For me, I would believe that at a level where we are, we would have welcomed change for presidents as early as yesterday. Failure to have change for presidents, because every president comes with priorities, and my priorities are different from yours. Like when the people of Bale voted for me, my priorities and the interests in service to the people of Bale is totally different from the one I removed. So likewise, people do blame Idi Amin Dada because of his autocracy and so on, but he did remarkable events which are historic, and we can even celebrate them. Most of the institutions, infrastructure that we are having, we need the power change. We need the change of presidents, because actually at this time I wouldn't support a constitutional amendment, but even the law of Uganda is a problem to the challenges we are facing, where the president is almost a semi-god into the country. Where do you expect changes to be done? Where do you expect adoption of new ideas? Where the president is almost the law. He does all the appointments in all offices. And that's where the challenge comes in. When it comes to now to the fight against corruption, he has to choose and appoint the IGG. He has to create any units at any wish. Now what's the difference in service between the anti-corruption unit court and the anti-corruption unit? What's the difference between the land divisions that are being created all over the country, yet they are supposed to serve the same interest?
So
what is the advantage of having more than four ministers into the Ministry of Natural Resources and Water, yet they are serving the same interest of Ugandans? And the solutions are very meager, but even the gaps for expanding expenses are increasing every after day. So we cannot hold the trust in such a system of government.
What you're saying is once you deal with what you call a semi-god, you'll have dealt with the challenges at hand.
If we deal with the semi-god in Uganda, we shall have dealt with most of the challenges.
Thank you very
because
much.
is an account to the challenges we are facing. So we can't be insolvent in the country and you expect us to be solvent. So let us deal with the insolvency part so that we boost our economic status. Incomes are evenly increased. Let us create also chances for the unemployed youth. I saw one time, as I wound up, I saw one time in Kenya where Ruto went to UK in seek for jobs for the youth, the jobless youth. What is our government doing? Our Mukomba box, these girls who are doing the yaya work in the Arabian countries, they are the ones even soliciting taxes, which is being embezzled in here. So such people are suffering from outside, more so doing donkey work and slavery work. Then on coming back, they suffocate from these push factors which I talked about.
Thank you, Honorable Tebandeke. Just to remind you, like you have said, like the structures say, you are part of government. I don't know what you're doing about that. Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma, how can the Ugandans leverage on the rights and the liberties they have to deal with the challenges at hand?
What is that question?
It's my question, it's not your question.
No, but
You may not have to answer.
Can they achieve what they want?
I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. Yeah, governments have to be compelled. Governments don't give you things for free. Even if I were a government, I need to be compelled. This is why we have a constitution, we have a judiciary, we have an oversight institution called parliament, because governments have to be compelled to do things. I'm really proud of the young people in their numbers who took to the streets and are continuing to do so and agitate and fight, because the only way governments work, you see, Professor Tanga went very scholarly and brought in, the guys who talk about what Thomas Hobbes you're talking about. And if you go there, the only way, what you call the sovereign, is that if we return to a state of nature, we will destroy ourselves. Life is brutal when we end up in an anarchic condition. But the beauty with being aware that the chances of return to anarchy are real is that we guarantee each other of mutual destruction if we don't abide by the book that we said should guide us on what everybody's mandate. So the people in power need to be constantly reminded that there's a possibility we can cross the threshold and go into violence, into senseless violence, because the governments control the tools of coercion, which means they control the tools of violence, right? But there are moments when you cross the threshold and you enter into what is called senseless violence that's coming from every corner. This is Siad Barre's Somalia in 1991. There was absolute violence from different corners because Siad Barre presided over a corrupt, tribalistic government. This is the crisis we have in South Sudan, rather in Sudan right now, because Bashir presided over a government without limitations, without regulation, without order. And a moment comes that we are at that juncture where sliding into absolute mayhem is real. So these reminders need to be constantly made to the people in power that don't squeeze the nose too much, because you squeeze it further, blood will come out. This is the danger that needs to be staring in the faces of many of the people who govern us. Now, the problem of endless acquisition, I've been giving it some thought, and I think this is like sort of a detour. Why I spoke about small dreams and small pleasures. Our dreams are small, so we think in terms of a good life means acquiring more goods. Just acquire much more as you can, right? Acquire more women. I don't know how many you have, You're
talking about primitive accumulation.
Acquire more women. This is the idea of a good life. When you go to church nowadays, pastors talk about a good life in terms of material acquisition, right? So if you acquire a brand new Mercedes-Benz, God has blessed you. This is the language you find.
Materialism.
So this has simmered into the cracks of those in power. Once you have access, just keep acquiring. It gives you a false sense of immortality. That, well, my life is short, but if I acquire more goods, as the man in the pulpit said, maybe my life is longer. So this false sense of immortality has entered into the heads of many of these people. They think they're going to stay here forever. They forget this country can work for all of us.
But it does. It is
So
working.
they are acquiring, accumulating. Why do you need to drive 2 Mercedes-Benzes to Parliament? Why do you need to spend 2 billion every single day? Why?
On what?
State House spends $2 billion every
Excuse
day. You know,
State House is-
2 billion negotiations every day.
State House.
But the entire
It collects
idea,
the whole
the
state
entire idea
there.
of accumulation, stealing, you
The whole
steal this
state
money,
spends
you steal
equally
this
2
money.
billion per day.
So we think about, Shamim, we think about hospitals having generators, and you don't buy them. But then you can buy generators for the speakers of parliament. But you can't buy for hospitals. You wait for a foreign funding body, which is funding protesters, to buy you a generator to a hospital which serves the public. Because you think the speakers are immortal. So just give them more goods. But I'm telling you, Professor Tanga, this country can't work for all of us.
It is
Nobody's
working for
immortal.
all of us.
This
It is
primitive
working for all of us.
accumulation by dispossession, has given your people a false sense of immortality. This is why when we take to the streets,
Dr. Yusuf.
all they think about is beat those young people, beat the hell out of them, because we are here to stay forever. Dr. Tanga, you hang out with these people. Tell them. Tell them. The only response can't be violence against young people. We have legitimate demands, and they need to respond to
The
them.
president has promised to demonstrate with
Thank you
them
very much, Dr. Yusuf.
very soon. The president is going to demonstrate with them. The only thing is that they are going to demonstrate to Kololo.
Mulyagonja, when he was IJG, told us thieves hide behind Mr. Museveni.
That's possible.
This is the
Dr.
Auditor
Tango
General
Doi.
telling us thieves.
That's
It was
possible.
published on front page of
know,
a major
my-
newspaper. Thieves hide behind President Museveni.
Evidential research.
Now he's telling us
Evidential research.
this
and
is the Auditor
evidence-
General. The Auditor
evidential
General
research
wrote
and
a full
evidential-
report.
Evidential presentation does not allow me to enter the unevidenced waters.
This
Dr.
is
Tango
Auditor
Doi.
General wrote a report.
Thank
I
you,
want to
Dr.
listen to the
Yusuf
question.
Serunkuba. Dr. Tango Doi, just as we close, I want to understand from you whether you think there are different avenues that could not be suppression, that could not even be aggressiveness of the state outfits like the military or police to deal with the issues at hand. Just in a minute as we close.
A
Thank you.
perfect conversation like we are doing here. Let's do introspection, self-introspection, introspection in government. We had a Chankwanzi retreat on introspection, and I can tell you I learned a lot, and I was bitter with some of the ministers, to the extent that they came out to say a ministry went for loans and could not implement, did not have AIE, the reports, and the loan accumulated interest, and you're a minister. So we need to have dialogue. That to me is very important. Whether you cry and do whatever Serunkuma wants you to do, whether Gen Z start again, and my children are part of the Gen Z age, the most thing now is dialogue.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing with
And
us. this
lastly,
morning.
I want to
Yes.
thank my colleagues. It's always better to have contrary views like Serunkuma and Honorable Tebandeke. That's part of the debate. And we are not debating shallow here. In NBS, I come because I know I actually mean it. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Personally,
gentlemen.
I would
Thank
like
you.
to urge the world to move in a dimensional, in a three-dimensional way. We need to dialogue, but we also need to debate and defy. We
Thank you very
cannot
much.
move. We
Debate.
cannot move in one linear perspective. No, this government we are dealing with is a dictatorial one. We cannot move by one
This is
way.
not a dictator. This is a
Yeah,
democracy.
let those ones who go to court go. Those who demonstrate, it's a constitutional mandate. Those who can dialogue also, and also need the doctor. The next turn of demonstration, I need you on the front.
Thank
We
you.
shouldn't be
They will be
here
ma-
talking
Mali.
and
Thank you,
Berlin.
gentlemen. Thank you for being part of this
It's
edition
not
of
a
Big
Berlin.
Talk.
Come
It's-
back home.
Thank you. It's imperative on everybody to deal with corruption. It's a right to demonstrate if you're fighting against corruption. It's equally a right
You know what I mean?
to deal with corruption in all manner possible in all the regulations or the laws of Uganda. And also it's critical that you get to understand how much corruption affects you as an individual, whether in power or not in power. At the end of the day, it gets back to everybody. That's it from us. Good morning.